Hi, my name is Aya. You're watching Aya Reads, and this is gonna be my Mafia Romance readathon vlog. So the Mafia Romance readathon is a readathon hosted by Jenn over at the Book Refuge, Cheyenne from The Tall Book Girl, Jess from Honest Fiction, and Jackie from First Lady Reads. I will have all their channels as well as their Instagrams down below. Basically, this readathon is an opportunity for me to read as many Mafia romances that are highly recommended to me. So I didn't really look at the prompts when deciding which books I was going to read, but a lot of them obviously fit with the prompts, which this is an empty bingo board. And this readathon has an extra bingo board that you can earn extra points for. The plan is to read at least 3 books, and if I have time, maybe a 4th, although I'm filming this halfway through the readathon, and I think I'm not gonna read any more books than 3 because I have a lot of books I still need to read other than Mafia romances. So the 3 books, well actually I ended up reading 4 books. So the 4 books I'm going to be reading for this vlog are Yakuza Lover, actually I have that one here. Yakuza Lover Volume 1, Broken Whispers by Neva Altaj, which is the 2nd book in her Perfectly Imperfect series. This series has been recommended a lot, over 150 times. And I started with book number 2 because this book got way more positive reviews than the first one. So my plan is just to read the 2nd book, maybe the 3rd, and then go back and read the first one. Then I want to continue on with the Born in Blood Chronicles by Cora Reilly, and I want to read Bound by Duty. And then last but not least, I want to read Ruthless Strangers, which is the 1st book in the Mafia War series by Maggie. This has been recommended over 150 times, and this is a 10-book long series, so good luck to me. So yeah, these are the 4 books that you're gonna see in this vlog. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. Definitely leave me a like if you do, and let's cue to the vlog. And as always, I'll just give you all the synopses while reading the books. So today is the first day of the Mafia Romance readathon, and yesterday we went out with a bunch of my colleagues at work, and it was pretty late. We drank a lot, so today I woke up pretty late, and I'm not hungover necessarily, but I am kind of tired. So we'll see how much I can get read today. But I did finish one book, and it was a manga, and it was Yakuza Lover by Nozomi Mino. So this is about a college student named Yuri. She's at a party and these guys are approaching her and touching her, and she doesn't want that. And then she's leaving, but there she sees this room where a bunch of people are doing drugs, and since she and her friend saw them, they restrain her. And then Oya shows up, and he's the underboss of the Yakuza syndicate. He saves her from that, and then they have this moment, and then the next day she shows up because he gave her his coat and she returns it, and that is basically when they fall in love, because they only spend one evening together and they're already in love, and it's basically that romance. This is the 1st volume. I believe this manga series has 12 volumes in total. I will not be reading them because I gave this book 2 stars. This was too silly and too cringy for my taste. I read some Goodreads reviews, and I know Rachel from Rachel Reads and Sings compares it to a Jessica novella. I do understand where she's coming from, but to me this does feel different because, I don't know, I feel like in manga form, it just makes it that much more cringy. This was like the worst case of insta-love ever because, like I said, they only spend one evening together and already they're declaring their love for each other. And it doesn't really need to be that way because this is a manga series. It has multiple volumes. Like, for me, like, it would have made more sense if they pronounced their love for each other in a later volume. I know, I mean, the author themselves even says, where does it say? Thank you for reading. I hope you'll continue to follow this story. It can get foolish at times, but is brimming with passion. So she does, or I don't know if it's a woman, but anyway, they do acknowledge that this is a little bit ridiculous. But to me, that doesn't immediately save this book for me. This was not a romance. It was only lust-filled. I didn't understand why these two fell in love. They found each other very attractive, and apparently they had good sex. That is all their relationship is, really. Anyway, moving on. This does give me some points, though. Let me actually see how many. So I already followed the hosts for this readathon, so that gives me 1 point. Then this is a new to me author because I have not read them yet, obviously. And this has a tattooed hero because he has tattoos. So for the main board, this book gives me 3 points. And then for the second board, he's a Yakuza, so that gives me 2 points. So in total, this book has given me 5 points, so that is great. The next book I'm gonna be reading is gonna be Broken Whispers by Neva Altaj. I'm very excited about it. This was very highly recommended. It is on my recommendations list of books that keep getting recommended. So far, wow. So far, this entire series has been recommended 165 times. So that is a lot. Like I said in my TBR, I will be starting with the second book because that book has gotten so many better reviews than the first one. And then eventually I will get around to reading the first book. But I'm very excited. Getting back to Yakuza Lover, this is just going to be a one-off for me. I'm not going to be continuing on with the series. So this does not add any... I'm trying to limit the amount of series I'm starting. And even though I started the series, since I will not be continuing on with it, it will not get added to my series spreadsheet, so that is good. I mean, it's not, because obviously I want to enjoy every book I'm reading, but I do anticipate the Neva Altaj will be a series I'll continue on with. This book is not that long. It's only 223 pages, so I guess I'll update you once I'm halfway through, and hopefully I can finish it today, but like I said, I am kind of tired. Maybe I'll take a nap later, we'll see, but yeah, I still have, like, tomorrow I have the day off. So today I have the day off because it's a holiday in the Netherlands, and then tomorrow I also have the day off, and then it's Saturday, Sunday, the weekend, and on Sunday it's Mother's Day, but I'll be commuting for at least 3 hours, but obviously it's Mother's Day, so I do want to spend the day with my mom too. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm gonna start Broken Whispers now, and I'll update you when I can. Okay, I am on page 116 of Broken Whispers, and I'm really liking it. So this is, like I said, the second book in the Perfectly Imperfect series. A lot of people don't really like the first book, so I figured let's just start with the second one. And these are all standalone romances. And I don't feel like I'm missing anything except Mikhail, who's the main male character, his boss, the Pakan. He was the hero of the first book. We don't really see his heroine. I mean, at least we haven't seen his heroine in this book. So, well, at least halfway through, you're good to read it without having read the first book. This book, you follow Mikhail, who is very high up in the Bratva, the Russian mafia. And you follow Bianca, who is the daughter of the Italian mafia. And actually her sister calls it the Cosa Nostra, which Jenn said that the Cosa Nostra is usually only in Sicily, but since she mentioned it, I'm going to count it as Cosa Nostra for the bingo board. But she's a ballerina. He has been watching every single one of her performances, and he's been pining for her. He leaves her a single rose after every performance she does. And I believe that's been happening for the past half year, but she's injured. I believe something in her back is injured, so she cannot dance anymore. And her father forces her in an arranged marriage with one of the people in the Bratva. And then when the Pakan tells his men that the daughter of the Italians is up for an arranged marriage, once Mikhail sees who it is, he immediately tells everybody that she's his and he's gonna marry her, even though... So he's a scarred hero. He has scars all over his face and his body. And usually he doesn't like people touching him. So even when he's having sex with random women, they have to be as clothed as possible to still have sex with him. The Pakan is really... Like, he is taken aback because Mikhail has shown no interest in actually being with somebody long term. So they get married, and so he's scarred, and he's also he only has 5% sight in his right eye, so he wears an eye patch constantly. So this does feel like a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and I am counting it for retelling on the bingo board. She is speechless. We don't know what happened in the past. We also don't know what happened in his past to make him this scarred. We don't know what happened in her past, but there's been some sort of accident, and ever since then she has refused to speak or barely spoken. So she uses sign language, and she at first refuses to get married to him, but her father threatens to make her 18-year-old sister marry him instead then, so she agrees. She's 21, he's 31, so there's a 10-year age difference. And when she's married to him, she realizes that he has a little girl, I believe she's 4 years old, who's just the cutest. Her name is Lena. She's adorable, and he's been a single dad ever since she was born, because she was born out of a one-night stand, and the woman wanted to abort, and he threatened to kill her if she aborted the baby. So he took the child and gave her some money. So he's been raising Lena on his own with the help of his housekeeper. So He thinks that she's the most beautiful girl in the world, and he thinks that she's disgusted by him. On their wedding night, he tells her that he would never force somebody, so she has her own room in the guest room. They are very attracted to each other. He doesn't think that she's attracted to him, but she very much is. She finds him very hot, and he sees how she's bonding with his daughter, and they slowly get closer, and eventually they do cross the threshold and do consummate the marriage. So far I'm halfway through. I am really enjoying it. I can definitely really see why people love this so much. I do have to say, I've not read a whole lot of Mafia romances in my life. I believe this is only my second one. No, I've read more. This is like my third or fourth. I am enjoying it. I do have to say, this is a very short book. It's only 223 pages. I think I prefer longer books, like at least 300 pages, because things are moving fast, even though technically they aren't. Because this book is so short, the author is forced to make them, like, for example, he at one point is like, she'll never see my eye. Okay, and then like 30 pages later, there's a scene of her seeing his eye, which makes sense because obviously it's a romance. Obviously, eventually he's gonna have to lower his walls, but it makes what he's saying a little bit unbelievable when, like, if to me, as far as page count is concerned, you're saying something and then a couple scenes later, you're doing the complete opposite. And it doesn't really bother me, but I just prefer how those things just get done in full-length novels, because you do take the time to sit with those feelings before things change. I don't know if I'm making a whole lot of sense. I just prefer a little bit more angst, and you kind of lose a little bit of angst when you have a shorter book. I mean, that's just par for the course of shorter books. I do have to say, I really am enjoying these characters. I can definitely see why they love each other or why they would fall in love. I love his daughter. I think she did a very good job with the daughter. She's very adorable. So there are two mysteries that we have yet to figure out, which, I mean, kind of contradicts what I just said about shorter books, but she is keeping those secrets close to the vest because we don't know what happened in his past or her past. So I'm assuming we're gonna find that out in this book. So there is a through line of like a little bit of a mystery of what happened with these two characters. And I am reading this book very, very fast. I do have to say it is partially because of the way it's formatted, because instead of having like chapters just be continuous, she does break it up in little paragraphs, which just makes me fly through the book. Like I said, like I am pretty tired today. I've had a long day yesterday, so I am surprised that I'm already halfway through, because today is just not prime reading day for me because of yesterday. But like I said, I'm flying through it. The writing style is very easy to get through, and I am intrigued about their romance and about their past. So very excited. I don't know if it's gonna be a 5-star though, simply because it's shorter, but like I said, I'm only halfway through. So I guess we'll see. You'll find out in the next clip what I thought about this book. So yeah, I'll see you then. Okay, so it's May 10th, so it's day number 2, and I have a bunch of updates for you. The first one is that I finished Broken Whispers yesterday. So I actually started and finished Broken Whispers yesterday, which means I read 420 pages yesterday, which is a lot, but of course, half of that is because I read an entire manga in like an hour. Yeah, let's actually talk about Broken Whispers first, and then I'm gonna tell you about the bingo board. So Broken Whispers I did enjoy. I ended up giving it 4 stars, however, and it was mainly, well, it was for 2 reasons. The first one is that it was very short, and because it was so short, we couldn't really go into everything in depth. Like everything felt a little bit surface level for me, and I just wanted more depth and a little bit more angst in this book. And I think that is what prevented me from giving it 5 stars. I do understand what a lot of people are saying about her writing style, however, and about her characters. She has very intriguing characters. I do love the fact that this is all Mafia people, but all of them, there's something imperfect about them, which is what the series is called, Perfectly Imperfect. This book did have some amazing tropes. It has a touch her and I'll kill you, definitely, for sure. Like, he did that multiple times. This hero was possessive, obsessive, very jealous too. But I mean, I don't know, he did all that in like a pretty charming way. He was definitely a scarred and tortured hero. There was an age gap. Obviously, it was an arranged marriage. He was partially blind. She was speechless. She was a dancer. I'd have to say, if you really like Stolen Air by Sophie Lark, I think you might enjoy this book too. It is similar to, like, the tropes are pretty similar. Obviously, heroine is a dancer there too. Very reclusive hero. There's also obviously a single dad romance too. So this book had 220 pages in the end. I think if this book had been 50 pages long or maybe even 100 pages longer, this might have been one of my favorite books. But another reason I was not really, like, I don't know. Okay, so apparently I'm more squeamish than I think because this hero is basically the torturer for the Bratva. I did not realize that when I picked it up. I mean, in hindsight, I should have. So there were a bunch of scenes where he was torturing somebody, and I know I'm reading a Mafia romance, you don't have to remind me, but in previous Mafia romances I read, like, at least the torture stuff was kept at a distance because it was never our hero who was torturing people. But in this case, the hero was torturing, and it was dual point of view, so we saw some scenes of that, and I got a little bit uncomfortable, I'm not gonna lie. I think next time I'm just gonna have to skim those scenes. I don't know for sure if the rest of the books are gonna have like this many graphic torture scenes, although I do have to say this series is lauded as a very good intro into Mafia, and I do get that. I definitely do, because it's very light, it's very trope heavy, and you fly through it, and her writing style is very easy to get through. But I don't know if I would actually recommend this book for your first Mafia, since the torture scenes are pretty graphic. I think in that case, I think I would recommend the Born in Blood Chronicles, because Luca, even though you do hear about all the things in the background and you hear about him being this ruthless, cold, awful man, since it's single point of view, you only get Arya's point of view. She's never really involved in the torture and the maiming and stuff like that. So I think that would be more palatable for people who are just starting off their Mafia journey. And I just say I am one of those people, because truly I've not read a whole lot of Mafia romance in my life. I mean, I've read, now that I think I said in my last update that I haven't read a whole lot of Mafia. Obviously I've read every single Sophie Lark romance, like Mafia romance, except for The Underworld. I've only read the first two, but I've read the entire Brutal Birthright series. I've read the entire Kingmaker series and the first two books in her Underworld series. So, and even in those books, we never really got as graphic of torture scenes, I don't think so. Okay, so I've said that word too many times now. Overall, I did enjoy it. Like I said, it's 4 stars. I am very intrigued, especially with the next book, because that book was already set up, and that book is Captor Captive. So if I have time at the end of the readathon, I might start reading the third book in this series, because so far I'm on track to read 1 book a day, although I'd have to say my next read, Ruthless Stranger, is the longest. It is over 400 pages, which is double the amount of pages of the first 2 books I read. So we'll see if I can accomplish that. But that is Captor Captive, so that would give me another space on the bingo board, but we'll see. So yeah, like I said, yesterday I did very well, and I do have to say, yesterday, even though I was very tired, I didn't do anything yesterday apart from reading and watching YouTube videos. Today, however, I do have to clean my apartment up a little bit. I do have to tidy, so I have a little bit less time to read, but I am on track to finish the book I'm currently reading. Before I tell you about that book, let's tell you about the bingo board. So, as you can see, I have 14 points so far, because this book qualifies for Cosa Nostra because 2 people in the story said it was Cosa Nostra, so I went for the Cosa Nostra space, and then the Italian Mafia will be another one. It was single parent, obviously. It was age gap. And it was Bratva, obviously, and it was a retelling of something, because this is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I mean, it is even mentioned in the story, plus she's lauded as this beautiful, beautiful woman, and he's constantly scaring people because of the way he looks. And then arranged marriage. So this gives me 1 bingo, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 squares on the board, which means I have 14 points so far. And for the extra points, I have another 2 squares. I got rival families, because this is definitely rival families. The Italians and the Russians are definitely rivaling. And it is obviously disability or neurodivergent rep. Both characters have some sort of disability. So that gives me 7 extra points, which means my total so far is 21 points. And as of filming right now, I have no idea what that means, because Jenn will reveal what the points mean on Sunday. So I guess I'll give you an update at the very end of the vlog. So yeah, so far I'm doing pretty well. Moving on to the next book. So far I've read the first 94 pages of Bound by Duty by Cora Reilly. So I'm finally continuing on with the Born in Blood Chronicles by her. I read the first book, Bound by Honor, in 2021. So it has been like 2 to 3 years since I last read that book. And a part of me was debating, should I either reread that first book or read Luca Vitiello, which is Bound by Honor in Luca's point of view. But at the end of the day, I decided I didn't want to do that because I do want to make progress in the series. And I am glad I didn't. I'm planning on reading Luca's book before reading the third one, because this book truly really has nothing to do with the New York Mafia. It's 100% the Chicago Mafia, whereas the third book is about Luca's brother and Arya's sister, and it's set in New York, obviously. So I'm going to be refreshing my memories of Bound by Honor by reading Luca's point of view's book, Luca Vitiello's book. That will get me all caught up for the third book and the rest of the series. This is a priority series for me. I do want to finally at least finish the Born in Blood Chronicles, but I also want to read the Cora Chronicles too. But anyway, moving on. Bound by Duty is about Valentina and Dante. And Valentina was married to her best friend, but they never consummated their marriage since he was gay. She was married for 4 years. She's never had sex. She's still a virgin. And he passed away almost a year ago. And now her father wants her to marry somebody else. And this person is going to be the next capo of the Chicago outfit, Dante Cavallaro. And Dante's wife died 4 years ago, and he was very much in love with her. He is seen as this stone cold monster. Basically, he never really shows any emotions. And a part of her doesn't want to get remarried again, especially not so soon. But a part of her does really want to have a husband that finds her attractive and wants to have sex with her. So they do get married, but then on their wedding night, he shows her to his bedroom, and then they lie down, and then he turns right around and sleeps and doesn't touch her at all. So she thinks that she's in for another loveless marriage, another marriage where the man does not desire her. But since she's so tired of being ignored, she wants to have like a normal sort of marriage. So she goes about seducing her husband. And right now I am, like I said, 94 pages in, about 36% of the way through. So I'm on chapter 10 now. And this book has 258 pages. So like I said, right now it is 2:30. So I do think I can definitely finish this book, or if not, get very, very far into it. I am enjoying it. I am liking Dante. Although I do have to say, part of me is pretty apprehensive because I'm pretty sure that the Cora Chronicles, they have major beef with Dante. So I'm pretty sure he's going to be like the villain of that series. And I do know that the Cora Chronicles is a more beloved series than the Born in Blood Chronicles. So I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, I am enjoying him. He's like another tortured hero. It's obvious that he still loves his wife. But I am liking Valentina. She's a feisty heroine. I am scared that she might go into the territory of being too stupid to live, but we'll see. I'm enjoying Dante because he does have morals, even though he's part of the Mafia, obviously. This is another single point of view story, so we don't really get to see all the Mafia goings on. You do see him and Luca from the first book. They have some animosity towards each other, but they have to reluctantly work together. So there's already a scene where he is firmly against rape, which is very, I don't know. I just thought about a scene from the last book where something happened, not with our hero or any of his associates, but something that was told to us that was horrifying, that had to deal with that. And and he's also not in the business of forcing his wife. There's also an age gap here. She's 23. He is 12 years older, I think. Yeah, he's 12 years older, so he's 35. And he had been married to his wife for maybe also 12 years. I don't know. So he had been married to her for a very long time. They never had children, which makes me think that maybe there's more to that story, but I don't know for sure. So this is a widow and widower romance. I haven't read too many of those, but obviously in Mafia romances, that is more common. Yeah, so her husband who died, he was gay, and he had like a lover who was basically his boyfriend, and he loved him very much. And he was an outsider. And Dante, eventually Valentina has to tell him the reason why she's still a virgin. He wants to know who this man is, but Valentina knows that if Dante knows who this man is, he'll probably get killed. So I do kind of like, even though at some points it definitely doesn't seem like there's any love lost between her and her previous husband, she kind of blames him for a lot of things. The fact that he married her so that she could be his shield and never really gave anything in return as far as like physical things are concerned. But obviously he's gay, he cannot do that. But I don't know, maybe he should have, you know, had an arrangement with her where he would have had his boyfriend and she could have had her own. I don't know why that was never I mean, I guess I understand why, but even in death, she's still very loyal to him because she doesn't, or at least I think it's not necessarily that she's loyal to him. She just doesn't want to see an innocent man get killed because obviously she knew his boyfriend. So I do admire that about her. I do hope that Frank, the boyfriend, does survive this book, but we'll see. So this is another book that's not very long, 250 odd pages. I think once again, my next update will just be me finishing it, maybe having already started Ruthless Stranger, but we'll see. So far, I am really enjoying the Mafia Romance readathon. I am flying through these books, I do have to say. I am very intrigued. And so far, the 3 books I read are pretty different. I have yet to have a 5 stars, so maybe this one will be it. Although I don't know, we'll see. I finished Bound by Judy yesterday, and I'm gonna give this book 4 stars. Okay, so honestly, I think this couple is pretty forgettable. I don't think I'm gonna be thinking about them next week or next month even. And it kind of bothered me because, and this is not really a spoiler, but the hero never ends up saying to the heroine that he loves her, which I know he has some issues, believe me, I know. But to me, I don't know, it's just like par for the course. Just like every single romance has to have an HEA. For me, an HEA involves them both saying they love each other. That didn't happen. I do know that they are going to get a second book in this series. Maybe it'll happen then. But for now, this then just doesn't stand well on its own, in my opinion. I did enjoy seeing the Chicago Mafia aspect of it. And I did enjoy both the hero and the heroine. I liked how he still had his morals, even though he was constrained by this Mafia life. And I did enjoy the heroine. I loved how much she cared for the people around her. There was some things that kind of bothered me with this book, and it was the way the gay characters were portrayed, which I cannot say a whole lot about that because obviously I don't want to get into spoilery territory. I know this book was written in 2015, which is almost a decade ago. I think we've come a long way since then, and I hope at least that if she were to write this now, that she would make a little bit of different decisions. I do find Cora Reilly's Mafia romances to be solid in that it's very traditional, and also since it's mainly single point of view, only written from the heroine's point of view, you don't see all the torture, maiming, killing, stuff like that, which honestly I kind of prefer. I do like that the heroine stood well on her own. Like, she made it clear to the hero on the one hand, I liked her for telling him when he went too far and being clear where her boundaries were. But on the other hand, I did find her to be a little bit of a pushover, not gonna lie. Like, I'm not gonna lie, because yes, she would tell him, you know, this is it. I'm gonna, like, for example, there was the scene where she moved out of their bedroom and she's like, you know what? Come back to me once you've gotten over your shit, basically. And then he just tells her, I want you to move up back with me. And then she's like, okay. Like, what? Like, have some spine, some backbone, girl. So that kind of bothered me too. But I mean, I guess it's par for the course for a Mafia romance. But I mean, it was refreshing that she did make it clear when he crossed boundaries, yet she was so easily swayed back in his arms. I don't know. This was pretty smutty, smuttier than Bound by Honor. And like I said, I did enjoy that romance. I wouldn't mind having another book for them. So yeah, I think those are my thoughts for now. I forget. I don't think I've written my review yet, which is my downfall, because you see already I've forgotten a little bit about my thoughts. But yeah, I would say I would recommend it. And I guess you can read this without having read the first book, since I forgot pretty much all the plot points of the first book, and I can read this without having read the first one. I am very, very excited about the next book, however. Although, like I said, I will be reading Luca's book first and then going on to Bound by Hatred, but I'm very much looking forward to reading Bound by Hatred. That book sounds so much fun to me. So yeah, let me go to the bingo board. So for the first board, I've added a lot of points because this was an Italian mafia, since obviously I counted the other one for Cosa Nostra. The hero is a boss because Dante is a boss. next in a series. This is the second book in the series, and I did read the first book, and that is why I didn't count Broken Whisper, since yes, technically it's a next in a series, but I never, like, that was my first book in the series. So that adds 3 points, but it gives me 2 extra bingos. So now I have 27 points. For the oddly specific prompts, I didn't add any for this book, so I still have 7 points for the oddly specific prompts, which means my total so far is 34 points, which once again, I still have no idea what that means, but I think I'm doing pretty well. I already have 3 bingos, and I think my next book will add another bingo to the list. So yes, speaking of next books, I cannot tell you a whole lot about it yet because I'm currently reading Ruthless Stranger. So I'm on page 91, but so far not a lot has happened. So even though this has over 400 pages, I am flying through it, and I feel like if this book was formatted differently, this would have been around 300 pages. Anyway, moving on, you follow Maxim and Aspen, and Aspen has recently gotten divorced from her husband, and she's been with him since she was 18, so 20 years. So she's 38 now, and this actually is fun because this deals with older characters, because she's 38, he's 46, so I do like that. Her friends arrange a vacation for her, weekend getaway to Las Vegas. While they're at the pool, she discusses that she doesn't want to have anything to do with men really, but one of her fantasies is to have sex with this mysterious stranger, not know his name, not know anything about him, and then they leave and they can forget about each other. He overhears, and then later that day he talks to her 2 friends saying that he can fulfill this fantasy for her. So once they do their due diligence checking him out, and one of her friends actually takes his wallet, saying that if he does something to that friend, his wallet will go straight to the police. So she does have friends that have her best interests at heart. They have this wonderful, amazing, sexy, hot night together. She's blindfolded the entire time. They cannot stop thinking about each other. So the next day he finds her again and tells her that he wants to do it again. And that is basically where I'm at so far. So I cannot technically give you the entire synopsis yet, although I do know it, but I'm gonna just tell you once I get to that part. So far I've only read, I've read almost 100 pages, and so far they're still in Las Vegas and they've only had their first night together. So where I'm at now, it's gonna be the second night. So far I'm really enjoying it. The smutty scenes are so hot, and I am intrigued by both characters. So he's Russian, but he has 10 friends, I'm pretty sure. We're gonna get all of their romances. Her friends seem very intriguing to me. One of her friends is a lawyer, and she helped Aspen with her divorce. But like I said, so far, not a lot has happened except for their hot night together. So I feel like I need to read a little bit more to give you a more in-depth synopsis. But since I'm already here talking about Bound by Duty, I figured let's talk about Ruthless Stranger as well. This book has Ruthless in the title, so that is another prompt checked off, so very excited about that. But like I said, I'll just update you once I'm a little more of the ways through to give you a more in-depth synopsis. So I guess I'll talk to you then. Okay, so it's later in the day now, and I'm on page 200, so I'm almost halfway through. And I can tell you a little bit more about the synopsis. So like I said, these 2 meet in Vegas and they have this amazing 2 nights together. So the rules were set up really clear from the beginning. She was not supposed to know what he looked like. They were not supposed to contact each other again. And it was just supposed to be that night, and it turned into 2 nights. It was just supposed to be those 2 nights, and then they would leave and never see each other again. But it turns out they actually live in the same city, and she works for the city and she's in charge of zoning, and he has a lot of real estate. So one day at a meeting, they see each other. She hears his voice and smells him and immediately knows that he's the mystery man, and he obviously sees her and immediately knows who she is. But he has some secrets. She knows that he's a dangerous man, and before they can actually go further, he wants her to know what he really is. He has some ties to the Mafia, but he's not Mafia himself. So I don't want to spoil that aspect of it, but like I said, this is called Mafia Wars because basically his family wants there to be a war between the 2 ruling Mafia families in Chicago, which is where this one takes place. So they want to have a war between the Russian Mafia and the Italian Mafia, and they are kind of in the background trying to facilitate that. But he has done some awful things in his past, and she basically has to come to terms with that. But he's also very, very rich and he loves to spoil her. Yeah, so her life is not going to be the same if she dates him, because since he's such a protective man, she has to have a bodyguard everywhere she goes. So far, I am enjoying it. I do have to say, their romance is moving very fast, a little bit too fast in my opinion, because, I mean, okay, so they had these 2 nights in Vegas and then they didn't see each other for weeks. And then once they finally saw each other again, it's immediately like she almost moves in with him. That is how fast everything goes. And to me, especially with a 400-page book, they could have slowed down a little bit, because where's the conflict going to come from? I mean, I know where it's going to come from. It's probably going to be an external conflict or something having to do with the way he lives his life. So right now I'm at page 200. They already seem like a solid couple. So what is the next 200 pages going to be about? So I'm afraid the intrigue will be a little bit low. Having said all that, I already am very excited about the next books in the series. The ones I'm very excited about is his bodyguard. And I'm very excited about Obrecht's book, but that is really only because Jenn over at the Book Refuge really loves it. I am flying through it. It's not a difficult book to get through. But as far as like the romance is concerned, I have a feeling, I mean, unless obviously I'm wrong, I don't know since I'm only 200 pages of the way through. I have a feeling I'm going to be more interested in the Mafia aspects and the plot as opposed to the romance. So for me to be more intrigued about the romance, they should have taken it a little bit slower, but we'll see. Because where I am now, if we don't count the 2 nights spent in Vegas, they've only known each other, like really known each other for 2 days. So I believe it was yesterday or the day before from where I am now that they met each other again at work. He needs her help also with like the zoning thing, so they're gonna work together too, but also fuck. And like I said, she's almost moved in. He already invited her to his brother's wedding, which, I mean, that is just like unhinged mafia behavior. I get that. I think I'm just gonna keep trucking along. I thought I was gonna finish this tonight, but I don't think I will, because I read a lot these past few days, which actually I didn't even tell you how much I got read yesterday, because I was very proud of my page count yesterday. I read 315 pages yesterday. So in the first 2 days of the Mafia Romance Readathon, I've already read 735 pages. And of course, 200 of those pages were a manga. But yesterday I didn't read any manga. So the 315 was all actual novel. Hopefully I can reach the 200 page mark today, but I will not reach the 300 page mark, because I filmed the whole day yesterday and one video had like almost 1.5 hours of raw footage. So I spent a lot of the day filming, and I'm currently editing that video and it has to go up tomorrow. Actually, I have a little bit less time to read, but that's fine. Tomorrow is Mother's Day and my parents live about 1.5 hours away from me, and I'm going by train. So I have at least 3 hours to read on the train tomorrow. Let me actually see how many hours is left in my book. Yeah, so 2 hours and 45 minutes. So I for sure will be finishing it tomorrow. And like I said, I think I said it in my intro. If not, I'll say it here. This is going to be my last book for the Mafia Romance Readathon. Even if I have time left tomorrow, I'm just going to continue on with other books I still need to read this month. 4 books in 4 days for this readathon is amazing in my opinion. So I guess you'll see me tomorrow, where I will give you all my thoughts on Ruthless Strangers, give you my final rating, tell you how many points I got, and tell you how many pages I ended up reading. And maybe, hopefully, fingers crossed, I will also tell you what the points get me as far as like the Mafia hierarchy. So that will be the next clip for you. So see you then. So it's Sunday today and it's 4:30, and this is gonna be my last update and the end of the Mafia Romance Readathon. So I finished Ruthless Stranger on the train back from my parents. So basically today is Mother's Day. My brother and I took my mom out for lunch, and she lives about 1.5 hours away from me. So, and I went by train. So that was like 3 hours I could read on the train, and I finished Ruthless Stranger, and I'm gonna give you all my thoughts. I think I'm gonna give this book 3.5 stars. And the reasoning is mainly, okay, first of all, this very much has Insula vibes. Like, not just vibes, it's true. Like, they even confess in the book, like they already, okay, so basically they met in Vegas, obviously, but they didn't really know each other. They had 2 hot nights together. And then when they finally did meet, like I said in an earlier update, she almost moved in with him. Like they were telling each other they loved each other after 2 days. Her morals were already very skewed after 2 days. They said things like they couldn't live without each other. They all almost altered each other's DNA within 2 days. And I'm sorry, I don't believe that. And this heroine, and because, okay, so basically they had already told each other they loved each other. She was already with him every single day since they saw each other again. He already threatened multiple people for her, like things that usually happen after a third act breakup, they already had happened. And then towards like the last third, he was like, I've been so selfish. Please tell me about your family. He did not know that her mom died. He didn't know anything about her dad. Like basic things that a boyfriend should know, he had no idea about. Like, I don't understand. Like, at least, I don't know. I feel like there was no need for them to go that quickly, that fast. Like, there was no need to it. This book already had 400 pages. Most of your readers are gonna read said 400 pages. There was no real reason for them to already be in love after 2 days. Like, that just, no, like I said, no reason, none. Having said all that, I am very, very much looking forward to reading the rest of the books. The ones I'm very interested in are Boris's book, because this couple has been set up very well, and I think I'm gonna enjoy that more because it does seem like that is not insta love. At least I hope it's not, since it is brother's best friend. I'm very interested in Adrian's book. Once again, like, we already see them interact. They've known each other for more than 2 days at least before they get together. Sergei's book I'm also interested in, and Obrecht's book I'm very interested in. So hopefully this is just the case of the first book not really being my favorite, but the other books in the series will be. I'm not saying this book is bad, definitely not. I would still recommend it, and I think it can work for a lot of people. It just didn't work that well for me. Although I do have to say, I was flying through it. It has over 400 pages, and I was intrigued the entire time. Even though sometimes, like I said, when they were declaring their love for each other and stuff like that, I was rolling my eyes a little bit. Also, I'm not gonna lie, this heroine bothered me a little bit, and it was mainly... Okay, so she's a 37-year-old woman, and I'm not saying 37-year-olds cannot be childish, because I'm 30 and I have plenty of childish people around me. But I felt like she was very immature, and a part of that could be because she got with her ex when she was 18, and she's only been with her ex for 20 years. So it makes sense that maybe she has not really matured as far as the love department goes from like an 18-year-old. But she also did some dumb, immature things, like when they broke up in this book, and I was like, I'm sorry, this is how an 18-year-old behaves, not a 37-year-old. So that kind of bothered me too. Like, it was just annoying and not unnecessary, and the problems that ensue from that one dumb decision will probably last for books to come. So that was just annoying, and like I said, not necessary. Like, what's the point of having more mature characters if they're gonna act as immature as 18-year-olds? So those things kind of prevented me from giving this any higher than 3.5 stars. Okay, so I'm editing this vlog and I realized I forgot to mention something, and it's pretty nitpicky, but at some point it really, really got on my nerves, so I did want to mention it. So he has a nickname for her. So it's a Russian name. I am butchering that, I'm sorry, but it's Krasotka, I think, which means gorgeous beauty. So that was his nickname. He constantly called her by that. Like, I don't think he ever used her real name. Like, in his head, he constantly kept saying that. To her, he constantly kept calling her that. To everybody else, he constantly kept calling her that. And he kept constantly saying, my krasotka, my krasotka. So translated, he constantly kept saying, my beauty, my beauty. And I don't know why. That was so annoying. I hated when nicknames are overused, and this was definitely overused. And in fact, just before I started filming, I looked up how many times he actually said it. He said it 149 times in this book. And let me actually, okay, so her actual name was mentioned 229 times. So it was more, but I mean, I think only 5 times he actually mentioned her real name. And I'm fine with nicknames, especially nicknames in a different language. Like, yes, I eat that shit up, but this was overdone. And I know I'm nitpicking, but it was something that got on my nerve. And it was a little bit annoying. So I thought that was extremely important information to share, obviously. But I did think that she set up a good series, and she made me very interested in reading the rest of the books. Moving on to the points. So I have 6 extra points because this obviously, it's called Ruthless Stranger. So it fulfills the ruthless/cruel prompt. Pretty sure, yeah. Which gives me another bingo, which means I now have 33 points on the board. Plus add my 7 oddly specific prompts. I didn't add any oddly specific prompts. Gives me 40 points. And Jenn recently posted what those mean. And I think I already know what I'm gonna be, but let's see for sure. So 40 points, right? 33 plus 7 is 40 if I still can count. Yeah. So 25 plus points makes me a Dawn or a Donna. So I'm a Donna. And I'm actually glad that I stuck with my TBR and that I finished all of them because I did a lot of reading these past couple of days. So today I read 196 pages and the day's not over, so I will be reading more, but not for the Mafia Romance Readathon. Yesterday I read 156 pages. So overall, so the first day I read 420, the second day I read 315, the third day I read 156, and the fourth day I read 196, meaning my total page count for the Mafia Romance Readathon was 1,087 pages. So did very well. I'm very happy with this. I finished 4 books in 4 days. Once again, very happy about that. And I'm very much looking forward to reading something other than Mafia the rest of the month. And I do have to say I did enjoy reading this many Mafia romances. I am still trying to decide what I like about this genre. I do have to say with Ruthless Stranger, even though it was dual point of view and we did get his point of view, if I compare it to Broken Whispers, even though he was torturing people, we never really saw it. So I think I prefer that brand of Mafia romance over the more graphic scenes we got in Broken Whispers. But let me give you my ranking. My least favorite was Yakuza Lover. I gave that one 2 stars. It was just not for me. Then after that was Ruthless Stranger. I gave that book 3.5 stars. Then I think Bound by Duty is next, which I gave 4 stars. And my favorite book I read for this vlog and for the Mafia Romance Readathon was Broken Whispers, which I also gave 4 stars. I'm kind of sad that I didn't get a 5-star with any of them, but I mean, it's still fine. My average rating was a 3.4. And like I said, I'm still trying to decide what exactly are my favorites in this genre. And like I said, I do have a feeling that, so I started a bunch of series. I have a feeling that, well, actually I only started 2, but I have a feeling that other books in all the series I read are gonna be favorites. So I have a feeling in the Born in Blood Chronicles, maybe the next one I'm going to be reading is going to be one of my favorites, and I do know obviously a lot of people have other favorites in that series. I don't think Bound by Duty is anybody's favorite. Then obviously in the Perfectly Imperfect series, although I do know that Broken Whispers is a lot of people's favorites, I am intrigued with the other books. And like I said, for the Mafia Wars, I have a feeling that other books are going to be my favorite. But I had a great time with the Mafia Romance Readathon. I want to thank the hosts, so Jenn, Cheyenne, Jess, and Jackie. Once again, check the description for all of their social media. Yeah, definitely let me know if you participated in the Mafia Romance Readathon and tell me what your favorite book was, or just tell me what your favorite Mafia romance is, because I'm very much intrigued. I do want to continue reading more Mafia romances, and if you just want to tell me that you were here but don't want to leave anything specific, leave me the knife emojis for all the torturers I read about these last couple days. And I really want to thank you so much for watching. Leave me a like if you enjoyed this video, and have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.